All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Dollar Bin Digging. This is the video series that I do for comicbookinvest.com, as well as the article that you can read there over on the site, where I talk about those little hidden treasures that can be tucked away in those cheap boxes, those dollar boxes, your flea markets, your yard sales, your used bookstores, wherever you find your cheap comics. These are some books that I think you should be looking for when you're out there digging over this next week or so. So, just more books to add to your mental Rolodex when you're out there hunting. Hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel and keep doing more fun stuff for you guys. Got live shows here on Wednesdays and Sundays that you should come join the live chats. A lot of fun. And with all that said, if you want to see what dollar bin books I think you should be keeping your eye out for this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro and I will be right back. Okay, once again, we are going to get into our books that are mostly Marvel and DC, that are kind of based around some of the rumors, some of the speculation, some of the announcements, and some of the first appearances that we have showing up in some of these comic books. Uh, just this week, brand new Amazing Spider-Man #1 came out. So even though I was not too excited for this, creative team, I'm just wasn't looking forward to the art, but hey, it wasn't terrible. And some interesting things came out of this first issue of Amazing Spider-Man, and one of them is that they look to be placing the character of Tombstone in place of the Kingpin. Just kind of slide right in there to maybe take a much bigger role in the series and in comics in general. Just give Tombstone more of that generic kind of goon henchman kind of place where he's kind of been stuck and relegated for a good portion of his comic career, and give him more of a leadership spot, I guess you would say, in this in the universe. That all said, again, this all comes out of Amazing Spider-Man #1. A whole bunch of different covers for this one, tons and tons of covers, tons and tons of copies, heavily printed. So inside this book, as I said, you can see here there's meeting in the minds, all these different crime families in the Marvel universe meeting, and you can see he's saying Kingpin's gone, he's basically taking over that spot, and Tombstone is going to be a new big baddie, basically. And surprisingly, his first appearance still isn't that tough to find. If you want to go back, it's Web of Spider-Man #36, and that's where you're going to see. Granted, it's kind of a little bit of a cameo, but there he is. It is Tombstone. He's just right there, riding along in this car. Not a big show of appearance here in this issue, but that is his first appearance. And this is a book that you can still find, maybe hidden out there in some of those cheap boxes. Even online doesn't sell for all that much. I mean, $10 to $15 is kind of what we've been seeing, recently, just the last couple of days. There's some recent sales, but even online, you can see copies could be anywhere from down to like under $10, and they can be as high as $30. So you could make a few bucks if you can find one of these for cheap. Not saying it's going to be an easy find, because a lot of first appearances are tough to dig out of those dollar boxes these days, but I just want you to be aware of some of these in case you come across them, in case you come across, even if it's like a used, kind of beat up, banged up run of Amazing Spider-Mans, that these are some of the issues that you should keep an eye out for. And it's not just Amazing. So you got Spectacular, this is Web. There are other titles that have a bunch of first appearances of some of these characters that you should be aware of in case you luck your way into them. That's why I'm trying to let you know. Again, I'm not saying this is going to be an easy dollar bin find. You're not going to find a lot of this first appearance of Tombstone out there, because as you can see, it can sell for as high as $30. So people already know about this book. This is not breaking new ground. This is an old title that you should just be reacquainted with if you've forgotten about it, and introduced to if you are a newer collector and didn't know anything about Tombstone. That said, another character that's kind of showed up and popped up in the midst of this story with these other crime families and crime characters is the character of Digger, just kind of busting through the door into this meeting. And who knows how much more Digger we're going to get. But hey, if you like collecting first appearances, why not take a look at this kind of a gamma irradiated mobster, I guess, raised from the dead kind of thing. Digger first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man #51, or Legacy numbered 492. Granted, this book sells okay. It's not like an expensive book, but most people will gravitate toward this book because of this Campbell cover. Campbell did a little run of covers here on Amazing Spider-Man, not the classic ones that go for a ton of money, but people still kind of will, I think, grab this one just because of the MJ cover. But again, inside, you get the first appearance of Digger. And I guess it's just a John Romita Jr. favorite because, hey, look, he brought him back, I guess. Maybe that's why we're getting more Digger. I don't know. We'll see where this story is going to kind of go. It is issue 1, new series, new direction after all. So we'll find out what the plan is eventually. But this is, again, like I said, it's a book. It doesn't sell for a ton. Look, $7.50, $7. Those are best offers that were accepted recently, just again the last week or two. And even copies online, it could be as cheap as like $5, or some people could be asking over 15 because again, the Campbell cover. But for the most part, you're going to find this like $5 to $10 at the most online. But that doesn't mean you can't find an issue like this just tucked away in those back issue bins for nothing. So one of those things. Be mindful of it. Be aware of it in case you come across it. Yes, your eye will be caught by the J. Scott Campbell cover, but keep it for the Digger first appearance. Because, hey, who knows, right? Kind of sticking tied to the Spideyverse a little bit with the next book. We had Carnage. Carnage 2 came out this week as well, and it looks like we're kind of set with a brand new host for the symbiote, and it's this detective who first appeared in the first issue. But that's not what I'm talking about here. But what I find interesting, yes, that's what the article's about, is the new host, which is the detective Shade, I think his name is. John Shade or something like that. Interesting take. Interesting stories that could come out of this. You have a killer matched with a detective who's supposed to stop killers. An interesting little, dichotomy there, I guess. But what I found interesting about these first 2 issues of Carnage is the direction that the symbiote is taking, in that the symbiote wants to hunt down and murder supervillains to take their powers. I don't know, kind of an interesting take, right? It kind of reminds you a little bit of, I guess it was Heroes. It's Sylar. That's kind of the storyline of Sylar from, Heroes from back in the day. But hey, I don't mind hearing it again. A lot of things could be cliched, it could be redone, could be interesting. That's all I'm saying. And in the first issue of Carnage, he was targeting Hydro Man. And basically, I don't know if this is it for Hydro Man. It looks like a character death when, characters die all the time and then they come back. Hydro Man himself died, I think, in like Black Panther 24 or something a while back. And I don't know, then he came back. So he's a water guy. So whatever happens here, he'll probably come back. But it kind of looked like he got offed by Carnage, and Carnage kind of took his powers. So maybe we won't see Hydro Man anymore. And again, this next book, this is the first appearance of Hydro Man. You're probably not going to find this in a dollar bin anymore. There was a time you could, but ever since all the speculations for Spider-Man Far From Home, and we saw what looked like Hydro Man, even though it wasn't, it was all just a mirage by Mysterio, so it wasn't even Hydro Man. But everybody went buying this book and digging it out of wherever they could. This thing jumped up. It was like $80, I think, at one time, raw, for just very fine copies. We're just pulling in insane amounts of money. And this was a book you could find super cheap, and even in those dollar bins occasionally, because it was Hydro Man after all. Nobody cared, but some of that bump still lingers. So it's going to be tough because now people became aware of it because of those prices and those rumors and and that speculation from a few years ago. So this book is more well known, so it's going to be tougher to dig out, but doesn't mean you can't do it. Even at the prices that it sells for, you can see still selling for like $30 plus in some cases. Not all cases. There are, cheaper copies, of course, to be had, but those were my most recent examples. So you can see it still sells pretty well. And if you want to see what copies are out there and available, you can see even the asking prices are still $20 to $35. And again, there's auctions where prices could be much lower. You might be able to sneak a deal, get it for under $10. That is still very possible with this book because there isn't a lot going on for Hydro Man, apart from the fact that I just showed you a comic where he basically died. So we're probably not going to get a lot more Hydro Man going forward. So this is not a character you want to start collecting, but it's still a first appearance that you should probably be aware of in case you come across it. And that's all I'm talking about here. Now, that was from issue 1. Basically, we can go with the Hydro Man as the target. And then if you get into issue 2, which was out this week, and that's what I kind of think is fun by doing this and going through this series, because I'm kind of curious of who Carnage is going to target as they keep rolling on. But here at the end of this issue, after we've kind of confirmed that the symbiote is going to host itself with this detective, that it looks like he's teaming up again with this other serial killer. Well, at least the symbiote in charge is teaming up with this human serial killer, and they're going after now the Spot next. Spot is also one of those kind of a jokey characters that's been, pops up in animation and things like that. It's just one of those weird little villains that, again, like it's the butt of a lot of jokes. But the Spot is also a book that kind of popped for a little bit, but yeah, maybe not. I think there were some rumors about him showing up in Into the Spider Verse or something like that, or some animation or something like that, but caused this book to kind of get a little bit of heat behind it a little while back. But right now, it's pretty dull. It's not a lot going on with it. You can see from the upcoming prices I'm about to show you that Spectacular Spider-Man number 98, which is the first appearance. I mean, you got this Kingpin cover with black hat, but Spot first appears here, and then you get him on the next issue, which is more of the one I would always think, hey, it's the first appearance of Spot because you see him on the cover, but no, he's actually inside the guts of this one. But this book, as I always say, it doesn't sell for like a whole hell of a lot. It's $5 to $10. Like it's not an expensive book, but there are some expensive asks up to $14 to $35. So $35 ain't a cheap book, but you can see what it actually could sell for. It sells for pretty cheap right now. So again, prices could be all over the place, especially if you're shopping online. But I'm not telling you to shop online. I'm telling you, be mindful of it when you're digging through those back issue bins and those dollar boxes, digging through boxes and collections at a flea market or a yard sale and saying, you know what? Hey, they got some Spectacular Spider-Man. What Spectacular Spidey book should I be looking for? Well, 98 is probably one of them. So again, file it away, keep it in that mental Rolodex. So when you see it, you know what it is. Moving on. I know I just did a bunch of Marvel. So we're going to hop over to DC real quick, looking at the CW Flash series because I haven't watched this show in forever. It's just been a while. I lose my attention span, I think, with shows after a while. I mean, after like 5 seasons or so, I think I've had enough. And then I'd kind of drop off. And that's kind of what happened with Flash. I just, same old, same old. Just kind of got tired of the big bad of this season. Yada, yada, yada. I think The Thinker was the last season I actually watched. And I'll probably get back to watching them because I did enjoy it. But the CW series run long. They're like 26 episodes. It's just a lot. But apparently, we've got Deathstorm back. It's Robbie Amell, Stephen Amell's brother. Apparently, Deathstorm is back, and we know he has connections to Caitlin Snow. And the theories and rumors, at least what I'm reading online now, is that we may lose the last member of the original kind of Flash Scooby Gang or whatever you want to go call it. But Danielle Panabaker, who plays Killer Frost, seems to be the target. And again, the connection to Deathstorm, it makes a lot of sense. She's been on the show a while. Maybe she's had enough, and she'll be the next character to exit the show, I guess, at this point. Again, this is an old character, and this is old, even spec, where I remember talking about this book, one of my earliest dollar bin diggings a couple of years ago. Firestorm number 19, first Caitlin Snow. That's this modern version, New 52 version. It's not the original Killer Frost. This is kind of a newer version of Killer Frost that it kind of equates to what they have on the show. So the Caitlin Snow character first appear. Well, we'll get to that in a second, but first fully appears here in Firestorm number 19. Wraparound cover. Or is it a fold-out cover? I think it's a fold-out cover. But special cover on this one. And it was one I said you could find in those dollar because you could for a while there. Now it got a little tougher, but you can still occasionally dig this one out of those cheap bins because it's still Firestorm, New 52. There's still stuff of that. There's still plenty of that out there. So go digging and you can probably still come across this. And you can see this thing could sell as cheap as like $4, or it could still pull down $20. And, granted, that sale was way back in February, but still, it doesn't move a lot, but when it can move if you can find one. And even if you look at what's online right now, you want to go shopping, $12.99, like $13 to $25 is kind of like an asking price again for this first Killer Frost, because she had a big deal for a while there. I mean, she got like a kind of a bump up when they had the whole Justice League Suicide Squad versus Suicide Squad thing. It looked like she was getting a bigger role in the Justice League. She might have been a character going forward that take more of a prominent spot in the DC universe, but I don't know if that ever really amounted to much, but the character's still out there. Now, I say this is kind of the first full, but it is. I mean, it is, but I think what I've forgotten about is mentioning the issue before. And this is one you can still find for super cheap because everybody will go, they see the Fury or Firestorm, they're pulling 19s because she's right there on the cover. They go, oh, they know this cover, and they go and pull this one, Killer Frost. But she kind of appears in the issue before in issue 18. So if you're a completionist or you're a cameo first, whatever you want to call it, true first collector, well, then this is probably the one you also going to want to add because Inside, again, the guts, granted, in shadow, because we have these characters in shadow, the villains that show up in issue 19, like right off the bat. First page of issue 19, it's these baddies going right at Firestorm. But here we're getting the tease of them here in the dark and the shadows. It looks like they're in the Phantom Zone for some reason. But right there, you can see that one looks like that's Killer Frost. So not named, but they're speaking, and we know who they should. Like I said, they show up. So little bit of a tease, a little bit of a cameo, just a fun little nugget, another little thing to add to your scavenger hunt list. When you're going out there digging, go ahead, go grab this one too if you can find it. Right now, there's none have sold, so I can't even give you what the market would be on this. But even if you want to go buy one online, there's a copy up for under $2, so $1.79 is this is super cheap stuff. We're not talking about breaking new ground here or some monumental thing, but hey, who knows what could amount from the character going forward, and who knows if people want to start buying these cameos and in shadow things a little bit more. Market's crazy. God knows how much you guys are spending on those El Muerto books for some crazy reason. I don't get it. I don't get it personally. I mean, I get it that it should have a little bit of a bump, but come on. I mean, their copies selling for $150, $200. Why would you spend $150 to $200 on an El Muerto book? Who I was gonna do for dollar bin digging, because that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man 6 and 7, those are books you could have found in dollar bins. But after the prices got so out of hand, I felt like I couldn't put it in dollar bin digging this week. But I was going to. I had it marked down. I was going to do it, and then I was like, Jesus, these prices are too crazy. So I don't know. You guys are crazy spending that money out there. Whoever is out there spending that money, whoever is watching this, don't do that. Don't spend your money on stuff like that. Please, please, for my sake, just spend your money wisely. Just don't spend it on stuff like that. Not those prices. I'm not saying it's a terrible book. It's kind of a fun thing to go and dig out and find, but don't go spending $80 for something like that. That said, PSA aside, and sorry I get off of Firestorm's taking up Firestorm's time and talking about El Muerto or whatever Bad Bunny's going to be playing. Let's hop back over to the Marvel Universe for this little bit about Nighthawk getting a little bit of a bump in the Avengers title these days. He's getting a little bit more of a prominent role. They're taking one of these this Batman Marvel knockoff basically and giving him a little bit more character, giving him a little bit more to do. Kind of interesting. Now, you're not going to find his first. I'm sorry. And the dollar bins, there's chances are slimmer than all those other, the Hydromans and the Tombstones. Those are even tough for you to dig out. But you're not going to find, an Avengers 69 in the dollar bins. You're just not these days. I mean, maybe find a beat up copy, a coverless copy. Sure, possible. But this would be the first appearance of that character, Nighthawk, and the rest of the Squadron Supreme. I believe they show up on the cover of the next issue, issue 70. But this is the first appearance. But what you might be able to find, if you're interested in Nighthawk, you want a little bit of extra Nighthawk action, he had 2 solo runs. 3-issue mini that came out in 1998, I believe it was. So you have here, Collector's Items, first issue 1 of 3, Back from the Dead and Ready to Fly, Nighthawk. Kind of a fun book to go and search for and go and hunt. I'm sure you can dig one out of a box. It's it could sell for as little as $3 for the entire series or 99 cents. Those are granted March and February, so those aren't even recent sales. This is a while ago. But if you want to look for copies online right now, well, there are a little bit higher. I even saw some copies asking close to $20 for issue 1, but there's issue for $9, and then you can still see $5 for the whole trilogy, all 3 issues. So it's still a very cheap book, but might be something fun that you can go and dig out of those dollar bins. If you're interested in Nighthawk, he also got a revamp after the Squadron Supreme kind of revamped stuff. 2016, we have this newfangled version of Nighthawk in this new series over at Marvel. And this is, I think it ran like maybe 10 issues or 12 issues, somewhere in that range. And it's one you could still probably find out there. You can even see here, copies, $5 for issue 1 and 2. And issues, 1 through 6 got a best offer on $20 where they took just under $17. So that's 6 issues too. So not an expensive book. Copies online too, available for as little as $1.50 to like $7 for issue 1. Not a pricey book. So if you're interested in Nighthawk, this is one you can keep an eye out for in those cheap boxes. And what's also kind of interesting is there are 1 in 25s for this series as well. So I might actually look at those and Chasing Ghosts to see how low the print run was, because you're probably not going to see a lot of Nighthawk 1 in 25s. out there. But hey, who knows? I don't know. It's just something that kind of sparked in my mind when I looked at this. Saw one or two when I was scanning through the copy. So it's something I'm going to dig into a little bit more, possibly for next week's Chasing Ghosts. Now, that's how it works. I just think catch my eye, and then I go down rabbit holes and start looking into stuff. But I got one more for you before we wrap it up for this week, and we are going to go to a lot of announcements and things coming out of this CinemaCon. But the last one that kind of caught my eye earlier was that we got a little bit more on Transformers: Rise of the Beasts, and it just kind of reminded me that yes, we are getting another Transformers movie. It's kind of a follow-up to the Bumblebee movie, but it's going to start a new trilogy, and we're going to get the Beast Wars type stuff apparently. And we know some of these, Optimus Primal is going to show up, voiced by Ron Perlman, along with Optimus Prime. It's going to be an interesting movie, to say the least, I think, personally. So we'll see what happens. And with that, there's a few things you can still kind of go and hunt and dig for that's related to Beast Wars. If you want to get a lot on Beast Wars, Topher did an article that really dug into a lot of the firsts, and there's some UK books, weird stuff. Go over to Comic Book Invest, comicbookinvest.com. Check out Topher's article. I'll link it below on the video, as well as put it in my article, so you guys go check out the Beast Wars stuff, because he really lays out a lot of this stuff. But one you might want to keep an eye out for is one of these mini comics. I know these things are kind of oddball. These are the kind of oddball things I always go and grab if I find them. It doesn't matter what they are. I'll just go, oh, it's a mini comic. You know what? It's $1. I'm going to buy it. But this Beast Wars Transformers mini comic that came with the 2-pack of Megatron and Optimus Prime in their original Beast Wars form, it's right there. You can see here in the package. That's what it would look like. This tiny little mini comic. It's not easy to find, and it is the first Beast Wars comic. I know it's a mini comic. You might say, well, it's not a real comic, but hey, it's still a fun thing to collect. And if you can find one, you can see here, one sold just March 12th, 26 bucks at auction. And that was at auction with 7 bids. So that's not too bad. And that's the only one I could find that actually sold. And then when I went to look for available copies, I also couldn't find any. I couldn't find any copies right now. So may not be easy to find, but just one of those things. I just want you to be aware of it. Keep an eye out for it, because it's one of those things you could find. Like, it might not be in a bag and a board. It might just be stuck in between 2 books, and you got to look way down while you're digging, because it's mini comic, so it's way down there. And you just got to reach in and find it and pull it out. I mean, that's how I found my Gore Shriek, 6.5? Because it was just buried. It was just way down at the bottom. I don't even know if anybody knew it was in there. But that's why you go and dig. At least that's why I go and dig. The kind of fun stuff you might go and pull out. But with that said, I think more characters that we might get in this movie are like the Predacons, which were pretty cool. I remember the Predacons. It's a nice little set. I loved all the combiner sets from the Transformers back when I was a kid, and the Predacons were one of my favorites. And their first appearance was in Transformers number 25. So a lot of Transformers books are starting to get harder and harder to find, because a lot of people are buying all these firsts, and the first appearance in the comics, and nostalgia is taking over. So this is just one you might be able to find, because you used to be able to find tons of runs of G.I. Joe and Transformers in the dollar bins. Now they're getting harder to find, but in case you do, this is a special one to keep an eye out for, because not every issue of Transformers is worth picking up. Like, oh, everything's worth money. Not everyone's worth money, but 25 can get you a few bucks. I mean, you can see right there. I mean, copies have sold for as low as $2 to only like $9 online, so it still could sell pretty cheap. But then when you look at some of the asking prices, because of the first appearance, it's 20 to 30. And that's what I'm talking about, because a lot of these $20 to $30 asks make people go and pull these out, and you won't find them as easily because of that. Because asking price isn't the same as sold price. I know I had a whole thing on an earlier video this week where I was complaining about a little thing I had with an eBay seller, but it is what it is. You can see what the prices are selling for. You can see what the prices are asking for. Irregardless of all that, that's what the market's kind of doing. I'm just saying, if you were flipping through a cheap box and you find Transformers 25, I would say probably pick it up, because it is a pretty cool first appearance of the Predacons, and we are going to get them in a movie. So if that kind of thing's important to you, get it for that reason. If you just like the nostalgia of Transformers, get it for that reason. And if you just like cool comic books from the 80s, get it for that reason. Whatever your reasons, this is a cheap book I'd say keep an eye out for. And that's all I got for you this week. Hopefully you enjoyed that, as well as all the other stuff that I do here on the channel. Thanks for stopping by and checking this out. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate the feedback. So let me know what you think in the comments. Any suggestions, any special topics or things that come up during the week that you want to see hit up, or be like, you know what are some cheap books I can find if you're looking for Malibu books? Because you can find a ton of that kind of stuff. I don't know. Whatever you want to hear more about, just let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, and give you some selections based on stuff that I find interesting and that I go start looking for once I see these news announcements and check out what's going on in the actual comics that we're getting out there. So hopefully you still like this series as well as everything else here on the channel. As I said before, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And with that all said, I guess I'll see you guys soon with some more content. All right, later.